Hello friends, welcome to my video. Today is going to be my recent reads wrap up. So usually I will do a couple months wrapped up into one video just because I'm not always reading tons of books a month. But if you'd like to see and hear about what I have recently read, then keep watching. If we have not met, my name is Tanya. Hi, welcome to my little corner of BookTube. I like to talk about books. So if you want to stick around and join, that would be awesome. So I think I have 19 books to talk about. A lot of these are on my Kindle as well, but I do have some in print as well. So let's get into this and I will share my thoughts. I'm going to have my Goodreads open because sometimes my brain forgets things, especially people's characters' names, but I will do my best. I don't want to go too much into it, but just to kind of give you my ratings, give you my thoughts, and yeah. So let's just go in order of when I read them. And so the first book that I had finished is the next one in the ACOTAR series. I ended up, I think I rated this one 4 out of 5. Is that what I rated it? Oh no, let me see here. I actually, yeah, I would say like 3.5 for me. Because I just feel like, to be honest, the one that is always in my head is the second ACOTAR book, and I'm still trying to finish the series. I'm not done. I'm a little bit way through the last one, but this was the third book. I just feel like with Sarah J Maas, this is my first series by her. I feel like I'm just really into the characters, but I thought there would be a little bit more, I don't know, I don't even know how to get my thoughts out right now, the greatest booktuber, but I feel like, for one, I think her books sometimes are too long, and I feel like, I don't know, they just kind of like keep going on forever and ever a little bit, that it's like kind of confusing at times, at least for me. And of course the last like 200 pages are like, we're all like, oh, the excitement of the book is, which I really enjoy. I just remember thinking that I did not like this one as much as the second one, which I loved and flew through. This one took me a little bit time to read. Like, I didn't feel like I sucked into the world. I still obviously love seeing all the characters. I did cry a little bit in this one. I don't want to give anything away. I think I'm glad I read it, but it's definitely, I don't know, it's not as good for me as what the second book was. But it was still nice to be in that world and be with the characters. So there's this one. And the next one that I read that I'm really liking this author. This was on this author, a lot of her books are on Kindle Unlimited, but I do actually want to buy these in print because this, the book that I'm talking about is Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent, I believe is how you pronounce her name. She is also the author that I read her other series, The Serpent and Wings. I really like that series. I think, to me, she's one of my favorite authors this year, especially for fantasy. I love actually her writing so far from what I've read. I know I haven't read everything from Sarah J Maas, but her writing to me is much better than Sarah J Maas. I just love it so much. I love her world building, everything, the character development, and she has spice in her books. I feel like it is like so much better than Sarah J Maas to me. I'm not a fan of Sarah J Maas's spice in her books. I'm sorry, but I just am not. But the author, if you read Daughter of No Worlds, I love the characters, and it follows the story of, I know there's Sam, what is her name? I'm terrible with names. So Tasana, I believe is her name. So she is a former slave, and years have gone and she has gotten her freedom back, but she escapes and she wants to go to, what are they called? Oh yeah, the Orders. And so this has been a dream of hers, to get out of slavery and to get to the Orders and to be part of that community. And when she gets there, she's supposed to kind of be with an apprentice, but everyone has already assigned someone. And so then she is sent to be with Maxentarius or Max, and I love that character so much. I don't know, I really enjoy this world. I feel like she does a great job with fantasy building, like I said, character development, all the things. There's a little bit of romance as well. It's just overall a really good fantasy book. I believe I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to read the other books in this series as well. I definitely recommend reading and checking out this author. The next 2 books are part of a series. I read Magnolia Parks and Daisy Hates, and these books, oh my gosh, I think I ended up rating them like 4, but I probably should change it to 5 because I can't stop thinking about the universe, and I heard a lot about these and I didn't know what to think. I knew that it was kind of like British Gossip Girl, and I will say I love drama, like drama shows and drama books. Not so much drama in my own life, but other people's drama, yes, it's fun, it's entertaining, I will not lie. But I didn't know, I didn't watch Gossip Girl and stuff, so I didn't know what to expect. But when I read Magnolia Parks, I could not stop reading. It's like, it's toxic. Okay, here's the thing. Do I agree with the relationships? Do I agree with the characters? No, like they're toxic. Would I ever, it's not even remotely at all related to my life. It's like billionaire young adults doing, you know, crazy billionaire things and all this drama, but yet I am sucked into that world. I am one of those people where I have fallen for. I know some people really hate the series and they're like, this is so stupid, why? I really fell into it, and these are books that I do also want to buy in print. I'm just so excited. And it just follows the world of these found family in a way, this group of friends. Like I said, they're like billionaires in London, but it's just following these relationships of these different couples. And I just think there's something about, again, the way the author writes the characters. Like I am like invested into the story. That's like my favorite part in books, right? When you're just like sucked into it. I want to be in the know. I want to know what's happening. And I just love like Magnolia and BJ and their whole relationship. And I'm like, is it so toxic? It's so toxic. There's so many times throughout the book that I wanted to punch people in the face. But as a reading experience, it was wonderful. But the endings, this author, my gosh, like her endings, she always gets me, and I'm like, ah, what is happening? Like she messes with me, but it's also like that's part of the experience that I'm really loving as well with her books. Like I'm always like, what is going to happen at the end? Because it always leaves me in a crazy, you know, like, oh my gosh, like cliffhanger. So I would say if you like concepts of like found family, if maybe you did like Gossip Girl and stuff like that, maybe check it out. Because again, it's a very big hit or miss. I know some people like absolutely hate it because they think the relationships are toxic. And yes, I do agree, they are toxic relationships. Like, do not be like, wow, this is goals for my, absolutely not, no. But it's just a really fun time, and the characters and that whole world and something about her writing is wonderful, and I love it. The only thing that I will say about the Daisy Hates book, what I didn't really like is the footnotes. I know that maybe they're different, so I just didn't really enjoy like the footnotes, because also when I was reading on my Kindle, it was kind of annoying to like click, so that was not really like my favorite part about that. I didn't like it. But the covers, that's why I really want to get them in print. I just think the covers are also really cool, the original ones, not the new gross ones that they're trying to come up with, because those are absolutely no, that is don't get me started on that. So yep, and then I also read the third book, Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home, and that one I gave 5 stars. I think the third one is what really made me like uber fall in love with that whole world, because the third one ties in with the first one and so much more is explained. Like you really get the depth. I think if people, what happens, I think a lot of times is when people read the first one and it's toxic and that whole thing, but when you read the third book, it connects with the first one, and just so much is revealed, and you're like, oh my gosh, just explains so much of the first book. And so I loved it. Again, it ended on a crazy cliffhanger. I'm like brokenhearted still. I'm trying to see where this is going. I need a new book about Magnolia and BJ and that whole situation. But I just, yeah, that one was a 5-star. I think so far, honestly, the third one is maybe my favorite. I don't know, like, but I think that one's my favorite. Then the next book that I read, try to get myself out of the Magnolia Parks universe because I could talk about it all day, is The Home for Unwanted Girls. And I rated this one 4 out of 5. This is a historical fiction. I think I just found this at my thrift store, and I don't know, I wanted to read it. I listened to it also as an audiobook. It was a great experience. I love the narrator. She's done a few other historical fiction novels as well. I just really like this, and I will say it's a little bit of a difficult read, but I like historical fiction because I feel like it challenges me and teaches me about things that I may not have known about. One takes place it starts in the 1950s in Quebec, and this was during the time when there's kind of divide between the French and the English within that area of Canada. And so it follows the story of Maggie and this French boy Gabrielle, but also she ends up getting pregnant at 15, and you kind of learn about how that comes about. And then she ends up having to give up her baby because obviously she's unwed at the time, and so she kind of just is forced into a situation where she has to give up her daughter. Well, then we also are following Elodie and her as she's raised in the orphanage system. So it was just very interesting to follow that story because it's not anything I ever knew about. And so I gotta say, there are parts that were so difficult, like it's challenging to read, especially as a mom, like it just, ugh. But it is a good book. Especially if you are a historical fiction fan, I recommend. Check it out. I believe there's also a second book that I'm curious in checking out that follows the story of Elodie even more, I believe. So check it out, especially if you love like stories that follow decades of time, like family, kind of like Kristen Hanna vibes. If you've read like The Nightingale, things like that, and if you like that, I would recommend this one. The next one that I read was Pretend You're Mine. This was previously released, like it was a while ago, but then I got an art copy. They're releasing the covers. It is by Lucy Score. I have liked a few of Lucy Score's books, so I was excited to check this out. This one, I ended up rating it 3 out of 5 stars. I did finish it. I felt like the ending was definitely more redeeming than the beginning. I struggled with the beginning, kind of middle of the book. It follows Luke and then I don't remember her name. Oh yeah, Harper. And so these are military, like small town romances, which I do enjoy. But to me, I like Luke characters, but the main, like female character, so the main character, Harper, she just was like so annoying and weird to me. I don't know why. Like I said, the ending got a little bit better, but I really had a hard time. I didn't know what I would end up rating the story, because when I was reading it, I was like, she's driving me nuts. Like she's so blah, because she just kept saying like, I'm just like, it's fine, it's like fake dating, and I was like, okay. But then she was like, it just, I don't know why I didn't appreciate like her initial things. Like she would just do these really annoying weird things, and I feel like she kind of was like being dramatic for like, it didn't even make sense, and I was like, what are you doing? And like, it just, the whole thing was weird to me. I don't know, I didn't appreciate that aspect, but it did develop, like I said, over time. And as always, I love the side characters in Lucy Score's books. I think that's something that she does really well with her books. And so I did also get an ER copy of the second book, which I have not finished, but it follows 2 of the main characters from this book. I'm excited to read that as well. And yeah, so I think if you like military, small town, check it out, see what you think. I do think Lucy Score does a great job with her writing, and as always, like the developing side characters, like I said, it's my favorite. I think she did that really well. Then I read Happy Place by Emily Henry, and I know a lot of people read this one. I ended up rating this one 4 out of 5, or like 4.5. I did really enjoy it. I don't know if it's my favorite by her. I know some people like this is their favorite. I don't know if it's my favorite. I did read through it really quick, but I did really enjoy this. Again, 4 is really good, like a really good rating. Maybe if I reread it, maybe I would feel different. I don't know, but I just really enjoy her books. As I've always talked about Emily Henry, I feel like she does such a great job of, it's not just like a fluff romance. I feel like she has so much more depth and different topics in her books that just make it a really good and like deep experience. I feel like you really connect to the characters. So it follows the story of Harriet and Wynne, and they're this couple that have been together, they were engaged. Now things have kind of fallen apart, but they're basically gonna fake it for their friend group that when they go to this like summer beach house, summer kind of vacation house, it's the last time they're gonna be at it. So they just decide to kind of like fake it because they don't want to ruin the experience for their friends. But you're kind of learning about what's really happening, and like also seeing in the past and the present, which I really like. I just, again, really well character development, like it's done really well, and I really do recommend this one as well as anything by Emily Henry. So definitely did not disappoint. After that, I read The Fourth Wing, and I love this book. This one was a 5-star for me. I'm one of those people where I loved it, and at first I thought maybe it was 4, and I just remember I had to go back because I'm still to this day, it's been over a month since I have read this. I just keep thinking about the world. For me, actually, this is one book where I wasn't that crazy. Like I was like, it was part of the story, but to me, I think what really, I just love the world. And the romance was great, but I'm not so much obsessed with the romance as I am the world. And honestly, I'm obsessed with the dragons. I'm just so like mad that I don't get to have one. And I remember I just kept thinking how bad I want my own dragon and like that whole world. And I was telling my husband, I was like, I'm pissed that we don't get to have dragons in our world. I want one. Like, I want to earn one. So it's just the whole world. I loved being in it. And again, the characters, the story, but I love the characters of the dragons in here. I felt like you really got to know them and like the emotions of the dragons, like, I loved it. I'm sorry, there's like stuff going on with our neighbors and my dog is like security mode. So I am definitely one of those people where I feel the hype of this book. I'm so excited for the second one. If you have not read it, I definitely recommend it because I went back and I changed it to 5 stars because I could just not stop thinking. I feel like when it's a book that I can't stop thinking about, I totally want to live in, this is a 5-star for me. So definitely recommend it. And I also feel like if you're newer to fantasy and you're kind of scared, like this is one that the world building is easy to follow, the character development, like it's not like a scary fantasy. And it's just a perfect balance of like fantasy, character, romance, all the things. I recommend it, so good. And I read Bad Girl Reputation. This is just one I had on my TBR, so I was like, why not? I also tried listening to it as an audiobook. I kind of jumped back and forth. This one I rated, I think, 3 stars. I finished it. It was okay. It talks about, so Genevieve, she's kind of like a bad girl, and I would say it's like a second chance romance book. So if you are into that, I recommend it. It's alright. I just felt like a little bit, the characters, basically she's back to her small town, and she, it runs back into, I think Evan is his name, that's like her ex-boyfriend, slash like they were friends growing up, and so it's just kind of them, she's trying to redeem herself. It was like, I don't want to just be the bad girl making bad choices. Like, I'm an adult, I need to get my crap together. And Evan is kind of in a similar boat, and they obviously have chemistry and like history. I liked it, but I don't know, there was something about the characters. I wasn't as invested in them as I wanted to be. Like, I was rooting for them, but it wasn't, you know, like I didn't feel like, wow, you know, like just so connected to them. So I don't know, it was a good read. I read it, I got through it, but I don't know. So I think it depends. I have not read the other books by her. I know this is technically the second book in her series, The Good Girl Complex, because some of those characters are in this one as well, but it could be read as a standalone, like it's fine. But yeah, so I don't know. It's not one that I'm like bursting like, ah, but yeah, so 3 stars for this one. And the next one that I read was this one, Meet Me at the Lake. I ended up rating this one also 3 stars. Again, I saw this one a lot. And the one thing I will say, and I think I have a rant somewhere about this from like last year when I read Every Summer After. I feel like one thing by this author, Carly Fortune, which is why I was kind of nervous to read this, is it seems very similar to like other books. I don't know, I just struggle because I feel like her books are very similar to other books that I've read in like a weird way that I feel like they're like too similar. But I gave this book 3 out of 5 because the biggest thing is I feel like I didn't really buy it. And I've heard this from other people and I was like, yeah, I definitely agree with this, where basically the premise is that this woman Fern, and she runs into Will for one day, and I want to say that they're in Canada. Yeah, they're in Canada, and for one day. And supposedly they have this crazy connection, which I know can happen. But so then they agreed to meet in like the next following year, like to have no contact whatsoever, no like phone number, no nothing, and to meet in 1 year. And then Will like doesn't show up. So Fern is like heartbroken. And so for 10 years they don't see each other. And she just, I guess, has always been in love with him. And like the premise of it sounded cool, but like to be honest, I don't know why. Just, it was hard to buy it, like that connection, like that she met him for one day. They never ever like talked again. They didn't like, you know, no social media, no nothing for 10 years. And then I don't know, like I was glad with how things progressed later and it was interesting, but I just think, I don't know why it was hard for me to buy that, like they were just so madly in love and so all this, but only spent a day with each other. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why. I don't know. It was just hard for me to buy. So I rated this one 3 out of 5. It was a good reading experience. It wasn't horrible, but it's not like, ah, for me, you know, like it's not a 5-star just for me. So I don't know. Check it out. I think it's a good, like, fun summer read if you're looking for something beachy, because it takes place at like a lake house and stuff like that. The side characters I think were done well. It was interesting to read a little bit more about those characters, but yeah, so 3 out of 5 for me. Next one I read was this thriller, She Started It, and this one was also 3 out of 5. And if you can tell, I was in a little bit of like, not a slump, but I felt like after the 4th wing, it was hard for me to find a happy place. It was hard to find something that was like, wow, 4 or 5 stars, because I was reading, but I wasn't like obsessed with what I was reading, if that makes sense. So this one was a book of the month one that I got. I chose a thriller. Did I read through this quickly? Yes, it sucked me in, but I feel like, so it's these women, they basically is a group of them, 4 women, and they were kind of bullies to this girl named Poppy back in like middle school and high school, which I was like, wow, these people are really rude. I hate that. And they were apparently, something happened and they did something terrible to her, and then they, you know, weren't really in touch with her for years. And so years later now, they're adults living their lives, and so Poppy, the girl that they like picked on, all of a sudden sends them invites to like all-inclusive paid island trip for a bachelorette, which right away to me, I just felt like if I knew somebody we were not in good standing and they're like, hey, come away, and I'd be like, no, that sounds suspicious to me. But they're like, yeah, sure, let's go to this remote island with somebody we used to bully. And I'm like, what? So then they go, but I was like, okay, whatever, we're going along with it for story's sake. And then like suspicious starts, you know, stuff starts happening. Then there's like, you know, there's no remote service, that whole situation, like no cell service, they're on a remote island. And so then things are happening. It's basically kind of like Poppy, it's basically you're like, is she trying to get revenge? Like what is happening? But I will say the ending kind of got like a little bit dark for me, like because there's murders and things happening, and it was, I don't know, like it kind of was like darker. There was like a little bit of a twist for sure, but it kind of was darker than I anticipated, and I was like, whoa, this was not what I was like planning for. So I don't know, like I'm not obsessed with it, but I still would, I mean, I'd recommend it if you're like in a mood for a thriller. It's a quick read, but yeah, I rated it 3 out of 5. So it's not like one of my favorite thrillers, because I would say, like I said, it's a little bit darker than I thought at the ending, but it was a good read. So then the next book that I read was Legend by Marie Lu, I believe, if I'm saying that correctly. This is the first book in the Legend series, and I really did actually enjoy this as a dystopian book. I think I rated it 4 out of 5. Also, I'm reading the series with my younger brother. He's actually in the 2nd book already. And so this takes in the future, it takes place in the future like the United States, so it's a different United States than like obviously what we have now, and so it's divided into the colonies and then the Republic, and the Republic is at war with the colonies. And so there's June, and she's in the military, she's part of the Republic, like she's a soldier, she's going, you know, gun-ho with everything that they believe, and then they're hunting this guy that they call Day, and he's like the #1 enemy. And so meanwhile, there's just a whole bunch of different things happening. Like there's a plague. It really kind of gave me like COVID flashbacks to things like, but it's, I would say it's kind of like an enemy slur, there's a little bit of romance. But if you're into dystopian world building, this is like middle grade, I want to say, young adults, I do recommend it. I am going to continue this series. I think it was a 4 out of 5, so a really fun time. The last books that I read were on my Kindle because oh yeah, I also read, so then I read another Magnolia Parks. I read Daisy Hates the Great Undoing, which is the 4th book, so now I'm all caught up with the Magnolia Parks universe, and I rated this one 4 out of 5 stars. I feel like I struggle when it's like the books about Daisy and like her brother and like Christian compared to, because I feel like what happens is that they're kind of like repeating timelines in a way, but from different point of views, and I struggle when it's like that. But I still have to say, like, I still love the reading. I eat it up, and the endings are always crazy. Oh, anyway, so yeah, that was a great one, 4 out of 5. I've already talked a lot about Magnolia Park, so I don't want to go on forever. Then I read, these are all Kindle books, so I'll share them with you. I kept hearing a lot about Twisted Love and that whole series by Anna Juan, and so I was like, I'll try it out. So I read Twisted Love. It is not for me, friends. It is not for me. I rated it 2 out of 5. I finished it. I did not like it. I don't think I'm going to continue with the series. I don't know. There is just, I felt like, I think when I wrote about the book, like looking at it, I felt like, for one, the spice I was not a fan of, but I feel like I could overlook it. I know there's, you know, whatever, different kinds of spice in books. It was not my favorite. But the thing that drove me nuts is that, I think I wrote notes. It just, the main character was like too perfect. It was so annoying because I wrote a list. I was like, He's like a CEO, he's a billionaire, he's in his 20s, he's a master Krav Maga athlete, he has a super IQ, so he's literally a genius. Also, he's apparently good at singing, he's like uber tall, he has a six-pack, he's super hot. Like, it's just like, it was too unrealistic for me. And then I felt like there was like 47 tropes all trying to happen at the same time with this book. And I'm sorry, but I do not understand the hype behind this book. I feel like I feel like I've read other books where they're like the whole like more protective vibe if you're into like even mafia romances. I just was not feeling it with this book. Like, a little bit redeeming quality with some of the plot development, but I felt like it was predictable. Like, I predicted the twist with his family and stuff. I don't want to give it away, but like, I predicted that, and it just, no, I don't understand the hype behind this series, because at least with this one, I was like, no, absolutely not. So 2 out of 5 for that one for me. I'm not going to continue with the series. If you love it, yay for you, but it is not for me. I didn't really like it at all. Then the next, another Kindle one that I read was The Perfect Marriage, and this is a thriller as well. I would also say it's almost kind of like a court mystery thriller in a way. I wouldn't say it's like a thriller. I don't know, at least for me. And so it follows what are people's characters' names? So Sarah and Adam, they're a married couple. I think they've been married for like 10 years, and Sarah is one of the best defense attorneys in the state, and Adam is a writer. And so kind of from, it's called The Perfect Marriage, but basically what ends up happening is that Adam is being accused of murdering his mistress, and so then Sarah is asked to be his, obviously because she's a defense attorney like the best, she is then set to like defend him to try to get him off murder charges. And so as you are reading this, you're kind of following the plot of like, you know, who actually, like, did he kill her? Was it someone else? Like, what's happening? I thought overall it was an interesting experience. I felt like there was some things in the middle of the book where it was, some of the writing was a bit confusing for me, and then the ending, even though it was a twist, it was for some reason kind of hard for me to believe. I don't know why, because I felt like all of a sudden the character just like, I don't want to give it away, so I'm not going to say anything, but I will just say that it was a little bit hard for me to believe, and I was kind of like, I don't know, like, it wasn't bad, but I rated it 3 out of 5. So I don't know, read it, check it out. I know I've been hearing a lot about that one. Again, I don't think it's a bad experience, it's just not really one of my favorite thrillers. Then the next book that I read was also an ebook, and it was an ARC copy of The Moonstone Marquess. I was just really in the mood for like a historical romance. I just was like feeling, I was like, I just want to read that. And I was really thankful to the author, Ned Galley, for giving me a copy, an ARC copy. So I think this might be out, or it's coming out soon. But it was great. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It just was a great historical romance, and it follows, let me look it up. So it's Lady Phoebe, and she's just kind of like a calmer, I would say maybe like a little bit of goody two-shoes in a way. And she is kind of follows the relationship of Cormac and follows their relationship. Like I said, she's kind of a goody two-shoes, but he is kind of like, I guess, a womanizer and just kind of like a wild pants, and he is really struggling too. So he got out of the war, and he actually lost one of his arms, and so he's really struggling with that. And so kind of seeing him process and like how he processes through trauma and grows and develops was really interesting. I thought the relationship was really cute and just really sweet. And I also liked, I think, the portrayal of like about how marriage is described. I think I myself am married. I have been with my husband for 11 years now, and it just was really sweet to see how marriage was described to those characters. I know marriage maybe is not for everybody, or even like always talked about too much in romance books, but I really did enjoy seeing how it was discussed, and like how Cormac, like his views about marriage, because he definitely came in with preconceptions, and how those changed, and just I don't know, just how he described marriage. I really was one of my favorite parts of this book, and just how, yeah, his thinking changed about it. So I'm really grateful I got to read that one. It was actually just a really good one. So if you're looking for a historical romance, also kind of like small town, country England, they're kind of near the sea, if I remember correctly. Like, it's just cute, and all the characters too, the side characters in the village. It's just, yeah, I'm excited. I think there are other books in the series as well, so I'm kind of wanting to check those out as well. And, I I have 2 more Kindle books that I read. So one of them was Flawless by Elsie Silver, and I decided to read this because I feel like I kept seeing this series everywhere and a lot of people rave about it and are, you know, like 5 out of 5 stars. So I've wanted to see what all the hype was about and check it out. Ooh, okay, fireworks are starting early. Okay, but I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars. For me, I don't know, I think people, when it comes to romance, you know, it's very hit or miss, because I think maybe people, what kind of romances people enjoy. I'm sorry, you're probably gonna hear that a little bit. But for me, I felt like maybe it was the hype. It didn't live up to what I thought it was going to be, and I really did love the setting. They're like a small town, like if you think of kind of like Yellowstone, like ranch, country, romances. I really love the setting. I love the whole, like just the vibe of it, but something about, I don't know, the romance part for me wasn't as like, oh, like I feel like I did read through it really quick. It was really like a quick, fun romance. I did enjoy it. I didn't hate it or anything, but I feel like I was like obsessed with the whole world. I might continue it, but right now, I'll explain what I am obsessed with right now next. But so it follows in Flawless, there's different brothers, and it follows, what is his name? I can't even remember names now. So yeah, so it follows Summer, and then is it Rhett, I think is his name. So Rhett is a bull rider, and so it's like that's his world, and then Summer is kind of like her, like the agents that represent him, the company, she works for that company, and so she's kind of basically said to like babysit him in a way to like keep him behaving, because he's kind of a wild pants, and you know, just to get him like to have like a better image for the medium, for his sponsors and things like that. So again, it was okay. I think for me, some of the spice was just like kind of weird. The romance aspect was kind of odd to me. I didn't really enjoy very much. And then I don't know, like I said, like it was all right, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, so I was a little bit disappointed. But I gave it 3 out of 5, and I might try the other books to see, but I don't know yet. But what I am, the series, so I have started, this is one book, I don't want to go too much into it because I'm already in book 3, but I'm going to talk about book 1 because this is what I read in June, and like prior to June, was the book Full Measures by Rebecca Yarros, because of course, I'm like obsessed with Rebecca Yarros now. So good. I feel like this is what I thought the Chestnut series, like Flawless, was going to be. This is, I think, how people feel about maybe Chestnut, but I love the series. The Flight and Glory series by Rebecca Yarros. I read Full Measures. So good. Think of like Top Gun. They're like military flyer. This one I believe was Army. I think maybe it's the second one I'm thinking, but like think of like military vibes. Like there's also hockey players. Like it's a whole thing. It's just so good. The romance is done well. The spice, I think, is a good balance between the storytelling. It's just so good. I am obsessed. I'm sucked into this world. I am enjoying it so much. I love the characters, and like I feel like Rebecca Yarros is just like, she's just it for me. I'm loving it so much. So this is also on Kindle Unlimited, so if you're wanting to check out a good romance series, check out Flight and Glory. I know she has other series as well that I'm excited to read, but so excited that I read that one, and now this has been my latest obsession, which I'll talk about in my next videos, because I'm already, like I said, on book 3 of the series, like within a week. It's so good. So anyway, so those are the books that I have recently read. Definitely share down below, what is your current read? What is the best or maybe the worst book that you have read? I'd love to know, so please let me know down below, because as always, I want to know what you guys are thinking. But thank you so much for watching, and then I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone.